The winter wind howled like a restless spirit across the plains, carrying with it sharp flakes of snow that stung the skin. The small wooden schoolhouse stood alone at the edge of the town, its windows dimly glowing in the early evening. Inside, Clara Whitmore sat quietly at her desk, wrapping a thin shawl tighter around her shoulders. The classroom was empty now, desks neatly arranged, chalk dust still lingering in the air. Children had gone home hours ago, laughing, excited, running into the arms of their families. Clara had nowhere to go. It was Christmas Eve. She stared at the small, worn-out box on her desk. Inside it were a few letters, old, faded, and fragile. Letters from a family she once had. Before illness took them all one by one. Since then, she had wandered from town to town, teaching wherever she could, carrying her loneliness like a shadow that never left. She whispered softly. Another Christmas alone. The candle flickered as if answering her. A stranger in the storm. Outside, the storm worsened. Snow piled high and the roads vanished beneath a white blanket. Clara knew she couldn't walk back to her tiny rented room. It was too far. Too dangerous. Just as she began to gather her things, the sound of a horse broke through the storm. Clop, clop, clop. She froze. Who would be out in this weather? The door creaked open with a force of wind, and a tall man stepped inside, brushing snow off his coat. His presence filled the room instantly. Broad shoulders, weathered face, eyes sharp but not unkind. School's closed, ma'am, he said, his voice deep but calm. Clara stood up nervously. I was just leaving. He looked at her for a moment, then at the storm raging outside. You won't make it far in this, he said bluntly. Road's near buried. She hesitated. I'll manage. He shook his head slightly. No, you won't. There was no harshness in his tone, just quiet certainty. After a pause, he added, My name's Daniel Hayes. I run a ranch about 5 miles west. Clara nodded politely. Clara Whitmore. Daniel glanced at the empty classroom again. You got family in town? The question hit deeper than expected. She looked down. No. A silence settled between them, heavier than the storm outside. Then Daniel said something simple, yet life-changing. Come with me. A home she never expected. Clara blinked. I'm sorry. My ranch, he said. Got a spare room. Fire's warm. Food's hot. She hesitated immediately. I can't impose. You're not, he interrupted gently. You're freezing. The truth in his words made arguing pointless. After a long moment, she nodded. The ride to the ranch was quiet, the storm swirling around them like a living thing. Clara held on to the saddle tightly, her hands numb, her heart uncertain. But when they arrived, everything changed. The ranch wasn't just a house, it was alive. Lanterns glowed warmly. Smoke curled from the chimney. The sound of laughter echoed faintly from inside. Daniel opened the door and warmth rushed out to greet them. Pa, you're back! A young boy shouted, running forward. Clara stepped inside slowly, surprised. There were people, several of them. A teenage girl stirring a pot near the fire. 2 younger children playing on the floor. An older woman knitting in the corner. It wasn't just a ranch. It was a family. A place at the table. Everyone paused when they saw Clara. Daniel spoke simply. This is Miss Clara. She's staying the night. No questions. No suspicion. Just smiles. Welcome, the older woman said warmly. Come sit by the fire. Clara felt something unfamiliar rise in her chest. Warmth. Not just from the fire, but from them. That night, they shared dinner together. Simple food, but it tasted better than anything Clara had eaten in years. The children laughed. The girl teased Daniel. The old woman told stories. And Clara listened. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel invisible. Christmas morning. Clara woke to the sound of laughter. Morning sunlight streamed through the window, reflecting off the snow like 1,000 diamonds. She stepped outside her room hesitantly. Good morning. The little boy shouted. Merry Christmas, the others chimed. Clara froze. Merry Christmas, she replied softly. Daniel stood near the doorway watching her. Hope you don't mind the noise, he said. She shook her head. It's nice. They insisted she join everything. Breakfast, decorating, even opening small gifts. Clara tried to refuse. I didn't bring anything. The older woman smiled gently. You brought yourself. That's enough. Those words broke something inside her. Not painfully, but beautifully. The truth revealed. Later that day, Clara sat outside watching the snow fall gently now. Daniel joined her. "You've been alone a long time," he said quietly. She nodded. "Lost my family years ago," she replied. "Since then, it's just been me." Daniel looked out across the land. "Same here," he said. "This place, these people, they weren't always mine." She turned to him, surprised. "I found them," he continued. "Or they found me. Folks with nowhere else to go." He paused. "Figured no one should be alone if they don't have to be." Clara felt tears sting her eyes. A new beginning. That evening, as the sun set and the sky turned golden, Daniel stood before her again. "You can stay," he said simply. Clara looked at him, stunned. "As long as you want," he added. "We could use a teacher around here. And maybe you could use a family." The words settled deep in her heart. A place. A purpose. A home. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to hope. Clara smiled through her tears. "I'd like that," she whispered. That Christmas, Clara Whitmore didn't just find shelter from a storm. She found something far greater. A family she never expected. A home she thought she'd never have. And a love that quietly grew in the warmth of a rancher's simple kindness. And as the snow fell softly outside,